Hey everybody, it's Libby again here with Fearlessness. So what is fearlessness? It is the underlying grit that empowers us as entrepreneurs to forge ahead even when hope seems distant. It's the courage to walk through those fires of hell knowing that we'll come out stronger on the other side. Stay tuned and learn how to get fearlessness. I'm your host, Libby DeLucian, and today I have a very special host. His name is Will Morris. Will, why don't you introduce yourself and tell the audience a little bit about who you are and also what you do?
All right. I would just like to say that I'm your son, just to get that clear. Hopefully everyone knows that. But another thing is, I consider myself a creator. You know what I mean? Um, when a little bit of what I do is I manage some social media. I make, music. I make video designs, graphics. But the main thing is I would just consider myself a creator. I love creating and making my own thing, making it mine.
Awesome. And so tell the audience a little bit about how old you are, and are you currently an entrepreneur as well?
Yeah, I would consider myself an entrepreneur. Um, I'm 25 years old, and I have my own business. I'm doing social media, running 4 businesses at the moment, about to be 5. And really, it's really just thanks to you.
So I wanted to bring Billy on to continue our Living with a Monster series. So we did one, me and Chris did one. So Chris is my husband. And we did one like, what is it like living with an entrepreneur from a relationship standpoint? And that podcast has probably gotten the most views and traction than any of our podcasts, because it's a real struggle living with a monster, an entrepreneur. So next I wanted to interview my son, because what better person to interview to learn from a kid's perspective? I've always been an entrepreneur in some form. Like, we've owned a bar, like we've owned other things. So as a kid, like, I wanted to get your take on, and now you're an entrepreneur working for yourself. But
Mhm.
as a kid, like growing up, for other business owners who have kids who may be struggling, or we don't, we're a very hard person to handle. I wanted to have him on here so we could talk about some of the challenges, or what did you see your mom's work-life balance look like?
Yeah.
Or, did you feel that I had understandings and patience? So we're going to go through some of these questions, and then also, where can people find out information about you if they want to take a look at your work, or maybe possibly have you run their social media as well?
Mhm.
So let's talk about challenges. As a kid growing up with a person like me in the house, like, what do you feel like was the biggest challenge? We did not get along.
No. I think there was definitely some sacrifices, um, but they were more than worth it. Just the fact that you would pick my brain and ask me, instead of asking me like, "Do you have a job? Do you have rent?" You'd ask me like things like, "What do you want to do? What are you good at? What can you make your name for?" So really, I didn't understand that as a kid. As a kid, I wanted the easy way. I just wanted my parents to leave me alone and, you know what I mean, just skate by through life. But now looking back, it's just, I have a different perspective on it. There's definitely a lot of values you showed me that I didn't have before.
Yeah, I think they might have been there, but maybe you didn't notice them.
Yeah.
And so, like, going through high school and stuff, we did not get along. I mean, you can tell them some of the crazy stuff your mom did. Because
Yeah.
I couldn't understand why he just didn't get it. What were some of the things like we didn't get along with, like when you were growing up? When he said he just wanted to kind of skate through. Oh, believe me, he wanted to skate through. But because I'm so driven and so motivated and a little bit of a workaholic, the fact that he wanted to take the easy way out, I just could not see eye to eye. I
Hmm.
mean, one time, I think it's when you snuck out. Didn't I like take everything out of your room?
Yeah, I think, I mean, you took away the consoles. I think there was this one point the TV was gone,
Yeah.
just missing.
Yes. And so
I feel like those struggles and, you know, us fighting, it just kind of needed to happen. You know what I mean? Your willingness to, you know, do everything yourself to show everyone, you know, the ropes and everything. That's kind of made it worthwhile.
I like that you said that those arguments or disagreements needed to happen, um, because when you're a parent in the moment, you don't feel like you're doing the right thing. Um, but you know, I didn't give in at all to what I thought was what you should be doing, or not even listening, but I didn't give in to asking you questions. I didn't give in to the difficult conversations. Like I didn't give in to the easy way out.
Yeah, no, for sure. And there really is no easy way out. If you those things didn't happen, and you know, you're just like 10 parents, they're just, you know, they're doing their job. They don't have time. I don't think I would have the same values and success, you know, I would today.
Awesome. Um, you know, growing up with me in the house, what would you say that work-life balance looked like? Do you feel like I worked a lot?
Yeah, you definitely worked a lot. There was definitely times where I just, you know, I needed you for something and you were just not there, but I feel like it's a lot better than just being stuck somewhere at a certain time every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you mean like I was there, but maybe not mentally there because I was working.
Yeah, so like even when you're home, you know, you had to work. You have to think about what's going into your business, who like your payroll. There's a lot of different things that when you're off work at a 9 to 5, what does your brain do? Your brain just shuts down. So there's no more improving.
That's a really good point. So like 9 to 5, it does shut down. We tend to kind of like veg out or binge watch Netflix. But I think when you're an entrepreneur, it's you're taking it with you. It goes everywhere, right? Um, and you know, by no means do I know I did not do it perfect, and don't intend to say that I did do it perfect. What were some of the things that you used for like a support system as a kid growing up with a very direct entrepreneur mom? Like, what were your outlets? What did you do to seek support for yourself, um, so that you could tolerate your mother?
Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought about that. I think I would just isolate myself. I think you knew this. Like I would just isolate myself and focus on my diehard hobbies, you know. Excuse me. Um, you know, back then it was, you know, music, a lot of music. I still do music and everything, but I was learning music, I was learning the ropes, mixing, producing, the ins and outs. Um, you know, I was just on my computer. When I wasn't doing that, I was just on my computer playing games. So I still do these things, but you know, it has to be managed.
Absolutely. And it's funny because a lot of the arguing came from the video games, but I will say that it created a very, very efficient marketing person on the computer. When I watch him work, he can move through a screen, um, and know the shortcuts, way faster than I could ever even imagine working on a computer. So if you have kids that play video games, like, yeah, as parents, we hate them, we don't like them, they're wasting your time. But I feel like video games taught you a high vocabulary as well, but also, um, because you're interacting with people or you may be typing, but it also taught you to be super efficient on a computer, like
Yeah.
super efficient.
Yeah. And another thing to this point, to get away from the video game, um the video that helped with my, my hand-eye coordination, clicking, being on a computer, but also what really helped is being a file junkie. Um, I don't know if you know this, but I just love collecting files. Whether if it was like an album or just, you know, other things that I can collect, I would try to find the highest quality version of any like music album file. I would like look on the internet for it and all that. And the only reason I say that correlates is because there's a lot that goes into the social media. A lot of technical computer skills the average Joe wouldn't understand. Like, is your file the right megabytes? Is it compressed? Are you compressing it by sending it? So there's a lot of things that bleed into each other.
And I find that interesting. I did not know you were a file junkie, by the way.
Yeah.
um, you know, what advice would you give to kids or parents that, they may be an entrepreneur and they're dealing with a teenager, they're dealing with someone who's in the 8th or 9th grade, or that constant fighting or disagreement? Like, what advice would you give? What could you tell them that would help them get through that time?
Well, there's some exceptions, right? If they have a clear service they want to provide, I would say everything social media, just even service or something. But if no one knows you're out here and your service is good, you're actually just going to lose money to your worst competitors. So in that aspect, I think getting your name out there, even if it's not a service, so not a service, find out what you do, what you're doing most of your time. See if you can record yourself doing it. And like I said, just post it. Do anything you can online. Even if it's, your face or not, just try to push your brand.
Awesome. And Billy, he's, I knew he would be phenomenal at social media because he's a creative. He always has been. And I kept asking
Yeah.
him to do this. I kept telling him, "Hey, you'd be really good at this. Like, you want to try it? You want to try it? You want to try it?" And he finally gave in to trying it. And I taught him what I knew, which was not a ton. And he's just taken off from there. So it's been a great relationship because he does the social media marketing for Organize It. That was the first one he did. That was kind of his learning grounds. And then from there, he's really taken off. But I want to go back to kind of that when you were a kid, um, living with an entrepreneur mom or, family. What's some advice you would give another kid to how to
That's a
deal
good
with,
question.
a very aggressive or assertive parent?
What I would tell my
Like, what
younger
would you give
self,
your own self? Like,
I would definitely say
15-year-old version of you.
listen more, be patient.
Yeah.
Um, because there was definitely some sort of self-entitlement when I feel like everyone has that when they're young, especially a teenager. You sort of think that, okay, well, I don't have anything going for my life, but I'm smart, talented, but that doesn't cut it. So it's really good to listen to everyone, including your parents, your peers, any mentors you might find attractive, and just really just being patient and hearing people out and what they have to say. Like I remember this like first sign of one of the
Awesome.
signs
What
we
advice
were
would you?
just
Oh, go ahead.
no I remember the back room hanging out in the bar. That was fun.
Yes. Well, we did have a bar/restaurant before that,
Yeah,
like way before that. You probably
playing
don't
my
remember.
Wii.
Yeah, so I owned a bar. It was like 2006 or 7. Uh, for a while, and you talk about a workaholic. Little Billy, Will, we call him. Spent many nights in the back of a bar in the office because I had to work.
Mhm.
So there was that. Yeah, there was that phase of it too. But, that's good advice for kids, to listen and be patient. I think being patient with themselves, they're
but
so
it was
discouraged because they see social media. They feel
it's
like,
it's
"Oh,
it's
like, this guy
hard to
got a
translate your
million followers
hobbies
in, like,
as a
2
kid
weeks. If I can't get it in 2 weeks, I'm gonna give
to
up." It
something
it
that
doesn't work that
generates
way for
income
everybody.
and you
Most
can
people,
make
it
a
doesn't
living
work that
off.
way for, and they
So
give up very
sometimes
easily.
you're not
But
gonna
as far
do
as
what you
advice
want.
for
You're gonna see
parents,
other people
so
doing what you want,
advice for
but you have
entrepreneur
to
parents
adapt. That's the
who
only way,
are
and you
hot-headed and
can't give up
short-tempered,
because even my
um,
friends
what
that
what
come
advice
over
would you give your
sometimes,
of the
they're scrolling
parents
through social
of
media
how to deal with
and they're
a
actually just
teenager? Like,
they're
what would you
starting to
like to
feel
have
worse
experienced more?
than they were when they first came over because they're just looking at other people and other people's success and they're just still in a stagnant spot. If you're someone that's struggling, what do you have to look forward in that? You know what I mean? So I definitely see it being it's something that you have to manage as well, like a balance. Just like eating right, you have to balance it because if you're just on there scrolling, your life is gonna eventually turn out worse, no, for sure.
I love social media, and right now it employs you. Um, but there's a side to that that's true, especially for younger people. When we're looking at social media, no matter who cares if you're young or old, all you're seeing is like the great days, the great moments. Like it's a glorified,
Mhm.
journal of somebody's life with all of the missing parts of the
Um,
times it
a
sucked
funny
or
moment.
didn't go well or of the failure. So if you have young kids, I also think that social media
Yeah,
causes a lot of
I
anxiety
remember.
because it's like some
I got something
fast moving
memorable for
instant
sure.
gratification, like why do they have this many
Um,
followers, like they got this many likes or
it was
comments,
like a while
why can't
ago,
I
and I
get
was like
it, or oh my gosh, I
17,
need those pairs
18.
of shoes too,
And
because so and so has
my
them.
my
So I think it
girlfriend
causes
at
a
the
lot of anxiety.
time
Do you
left her backpack or
do you kind of feel that
something,
too?
and you end up like throwing it away. I don't remember the details or anything, or you emptied out the backpack. It was something like that. And then we got in an altercation. Like that was our only altercation, and we pushed each
Yeah.
other, and that was the farthest we went. And um, I still remember that moment because it was the only moment that we ever fought like that. So that's one thing, just that moment because I don't know. I don't like altercation, and
Yeah, I
that
think we
moment
get in our
just
own heads
stuck out to me.
and we put ourselves down when we see all that and we don't have it yet. Um, yeah. So I have another question for you.
True, true.
So, as far as funny moments, can you share like a funny or absurd or even a memorable moment? You could share a couple of our kind of entrepreneur family,
I think
or like what you remember as far as kind of that me and my entrepreneur journey, or
we
even
just
we could share a funny
raised
moment with your entrepreneur journey too.
around, I think it was, I have to check again, but it was around 6,000 to $7,000
Funny or
for
memorable
Love Thy
or
Neighbor.
something.
Love Thy Neighbor, one of the nonprofit organizations I work for. They recently, like, I have a talent, I could do something. Yeah, no problem. Love Thy Neighbor is a nonprofit organization in St. Petersburg. Just even getting donations from my work, that's just even thinking about that makes me happy.
Well, don't leave something in your mom's house. She's an organizer. She likes it neat. So she throws everything away.
Yeah.
How about a memorable moment for you, like in your entrepreneur journey of, you know, doing social media? What's a memorable or funny moment?
No, not at all. No, no.
Awesome. So I want to ask you a couple questions on that topic. One, how did that make you feel? Awesome.
Really, I'm just going to keep trying to push my brands that I work for
You do have a
and,
talent. And why don't you
try
tell
try
everybody
to
what Love That Neighbor is a little
keep
bit
that
more in
social
detail?
media presence for everyone. And also another thing is just staying up to date. A lot of social media managers, they're not really up to date with everything. They don't know about uh like 2 times resolution upscaling. They don't know about just, like the portrait. You know how I had the visualizer on top and you on the bottom, just like those random ass TikTok um formats. So it's really just about staying, up to
That's
date with
awesome.
everything
We'll
and
make
make sure I keep doing a
links
good
to
job.
Love Thy Neighbor. So if you guys are interested in checking it out, Billy is correct. Joanne Brachia is one of the nicest people in the world. When we were hit with Hurricane Ian, because I live in Fort Myers, Joanne fed our employees. She clothed them. She brought trucks and trucks of supplies down. She currently feeds the homeless in St. Petersburg, Florida. And when Billy says,
Mhm.
or Will says, I'm sorry, I call him Billy, but he goes by Will now. He's grown up. When he says, she's feeding the streets, she's literally feeding the streets. So we'll make sure to put that information because it's something. It's an organization you should to follow. There's not very many people in the world made like Joanne. So
That, and then I'll give
as
some
far as
softwares.
this whole podcast, I wanted
Um,
to cover, like
Tip
what it was
wise,
like
I would definitely say
growing
100%
up with a mom that was,
do what you think is good
not
and
the
not
nicest at sometimes.
what
Um,
other people think is
and
good and the
I think it was a
social
great
norm.
episode
Of
to just kind of
course,
talk about
of
it.
course, look at the social norm,
Um,
look at the brands
and
you want
I
to be
never
like,
in a million years thought you were going to grow
reference
up to be an
something different.
entrepreneur ever.
And
Um,
everyone right now, it's
you you
pretty
know
polluted in this
you
field,
were not
I feel
the most
like.
motivated
And there's
kid.
a lot of people that are just doing the bare minimum
No.
that
um, and so he's doing
but
great
just
now,
keep an
and
open mind and
he
doing a
could
lot
take
of
on
research,
more
I would
work.
say.
I keep telling him because here I am pushing him. I'm like, oh, you
And
should take
for
on more customers, more
softwares,
customers, more customers. And he's like, I'm good right now. um, so that being said, Billy, what's next for you? What can we expect?
yeah, and
What's in the future?
it's not even in your brand colors, and it's just national like this day and everyone has it. Like it's just nah. AI done. Another thing, this is probably the spiciest one right here. There's this software that you can download. It's not even like an online thing. It's called Video 2X GUI. And basically, this software can upscale your video or picture to up to 18 times the resolution. Yep,
Hmm.
yeah, and that it's probably fine to even use the phone, and you don't need a professional camera now.
Yeah. And if you don't know, you should check out our TikTok page. A few of the portraits where he split it in half, where I'm talking on the bottom, and up top there's a visualizer. There's stuff moving to keep the audience's attention. Well, he got 26,000, 27,000 views on one of them. And he's great because he's staying relevant. I think it helps that you're young. Before we wrap up the show, like what are some, maybe some softwares that you use or any tips? I know you talked about staying relevant, but just any tips if someone's trying to do this themselves. Or wait, I want to rephrase that. What are some tips that you want to give a young creator that wants to start their own social media marketing agency?
Yeah, and the main point with that, the whole reasoning behind that is you have
Okay.
to know what, like, you have to be really good and in tune with social media now to be good at creating social media. People want social. People don't want a packaged, like a pretty bow on something. They want something social they can relate with that might pique their interest. Even thumbnails are important.
Awesome. Oh, I was going to say, I think too, the reason you got the customers you have,
For sure.
and he could have more, is because of that. Posting the same post across all companies as an agency doesn't really help us stand out.
No, I
Like
think
nobody cares that it's National
that
Donut
was
Day.
good.
As
Fun
far as
episode.
customers
Thank you for
go,
having me on.
yes, it's not in, and that's the big one. It's not in your brand colors. I mean, I paid a fractional CMO marketing person to come in and look at one of the companies, not organize it, look at WootRecruit. And she was like, you're all over the place. Like, you're a disaster. Your brand is, the font is different. Colors are everywhere. If your brand has to be so on point that you're sick of seeing it every single day because it looks the exact same. And she's like, that's when you know that you're doing a good job. Awesome. So, Will, or Little Bill, as we used to call him, thank you for being a guest here on podcast Fearlessness. So if you guys are interested in finding out more episodes about fearlessness, and I want to continue on the living with a monster kind of series, maybe I should interview my parents. I also have a 15-year-old son I could interview. I'm sure he would not have great things to say about me right now, versus when he's 25 like Billy, he might change his mind. But yes, you grew up a lot of it. So I want to thank you guys for listening. If you want more information on our podcast, you can visit libbyd.com or thefearlessness.com. And if you like this episode, feel free to share it with another entrepreneur or parent, or even someone that's looking for inspiration in that social media realm.